Welcome to Well-Traveled Life. You're with Jonathan and Jennifer.
And today we are headed from Glasgow up to Pitlochry, but we're going to take a short stop at Falkirk on the way.
And why would you want to do that?
Because Falkirk has history, has modern engineering, a lot of entertainment, kind of recreational things to do.
Yeah, history for Braveheart, William Wallace buffs. You know that Falkirk was the site of one of the battles he fought against the English.
And watch on this one because somebody might have a personal connection to that.
How's that?
John Graham?
John Graham fought with William Wallace.
Yeah, that is correct. And right next door to Falkirk is Stirling. We're going to do a separate video on Stirling because that's a whole day all by itself, and that's another place with a castle, battlegrounds, and lots of history.
Yeah.
As well as a really cool little town.
Yeah, definitely. The Battle of Stirling, Stirling Bridge, William Wallace defeated the English. We hope you enjoyed this video.
As you've seen on our other videos from Great Britain, we are traveling by car from the south up to the north, and we will end up doing the North Coast 500. In the southern part of Scotland, we had beautiful drives. There were gorgeous forests and the heather was in bloom. Rivers and streams were running through everywhere we went. And it would open up to these large meadows. There was lots of agriculture. It was just green and really lush. And that's going to be really different than what we saw up north. So it was really fun to get all of this lush greenery at this point in the trip. Today we are heading from Glasgow up to Pitlochry. We're going to make a very short detour to Falkirk, where we can see the Falkirk Wheel and the Kelpies. There's quite a bit to do in that area. We are also passing right by Stirling. We're not going to stop at Stirling today, but we'll be back because we have a full day in Stirling later. One of the best parts of this trip was all of the driving that we did. The landscapes were just spectacular. But it was also one of the things that made this trip a little more difficult. Not just the difference in driving between America and Great Britain, where we're on the wrong side of the road, in the wrong side of the car, but the roads are more narrow. We were in a wider car than we were used to. And most people don't realize how far north Scotland is. We're on a par with like Norway if you look at latitude. And so while it stays light longer during the summertime, which is when we were there, it gets dark early in the winter. It tends to have colder weather, lots of storms, and we got those funky glares that in America we usually get just during rush hour, but in Scotland we were getting them all the time. Falkirk is also an excellent recreational center. There is the Falkirk Town Centre, complete with escape rooms, there's bowling, theaters, you have canal boats, Mariner Leisure Center, there's a huge swimming pool, a hippodrome, a stadium, Air Thrill and Wonderland, which is like a bouncy house on steroids. There are go-karts, a wildlife center, and distilleries. You have the Bowness Railway Station, where there is a railroad museum, but there's also a Bowness Motor Museum. You also have Mannerstone's Cafe and Farm Shop, and if you're not familiar with farm shops, we'll be doing a video on those. We have fallen in love with farm shops. But you've also got some great history. You've got the Callendar House. There's an estate with cycle trails all around there. The Rough Castle Fort, a pivotal setting for Outlander fans. Blackness Castle is in the area. The Antonine Wall was abandoned by the Romans when they fled south to Hadrian's Wall, but you can still see the turf. Of course, you have the Falkirk Wheel. Through a series of walking and bike trails, the Falkirk Wheel is connected to the town center, the Helix where the Kelpies are, the Callendar Estate, and all of these other attractions. So whether you go by bike, foot, car, or Segway, it's easy to get around, and there's just a lot to see and do in this one small area. The paths are also really scenic and interactive, so you will see a lot to do and to enjoy along the way. The Falkirk Wheel is special in a number of ways. It's really unique. It is the first boat lift of its kind in the world. It's a combination of architectural imagination and engineering ingenuity that creates an eye-catching working sculpture and is obviously an iconic visitor attraction. So it stands 35 meters tall and it offers this bird's eye view of the surrounding countryside. The revolutionary wheel is the focal point of what was called the Millennial Link, and it was Britain's most ambitious canal restoration project to date. It was opened in 2002, and the wheel joined two feats of engineering. It joined the Forth and Clyde Canal with the Union Canal. It recreated a fully navigable waterway between Edinburgh and Glasgow for the first time in over 70 years. Before the Falkirk Wheel, there was a series of 11 locks that created a staircase that linked the two canals. The Forth and Clyde Canal is Scotland's oldest canal, and it was the world's first sea-to-sea ship canal. It was built in 1790 and provided a vital artery for the development of central Scotland, and was the passage for sugar, timber, and grain to get to Germany, Denmark, the Baltic Sea, Russia, and beyond. The Union Canal was built in 1822 and was originally constructed to bring coal and other minerals into the capital. It is a rare example of what's called a contour canal, which means that it was all excavated to the exact same level to an incredible degree of accuracy of just 25 millimeters change along that 73-meter contour line. So here's the wheel in action. The boats come down the canal and into that final section of the sort of river tunnel, and the wheel then turns, bringing the boat down to the bottom level or conversely up to the top level. That lemon slice building below is the visitor center, and it's definitely worth a look down inside. Not only are there restrooms, but there also are some exhibits and information about the wheel and its origin. There is parking below at the visitor center as well as above, and as we've mentioned, there are walking trails throughout the area. From the Falkirk Wheel, we headed to the Helix, home of the magical Kelpies. The 30-meter-high metal statues are the largest equine statues in the world. They pay homage to both Scottish lore as well as the horses that used to carry the barges up the rivers. Kelpie is a dangerous shape-shifting water creature that can appear on land as a gray or white horse who entices humans to ride on their back and then carries them down to a watery grave. As you're driving in the area, be mindful, because one of the magical things about these statues is that they do seem to just appear on the landscape. Braveheart fans, enjoy a quick history lesson from Jonathan.
Stirling Castle, William Wallace defeated the English. Then at Falkirk, he was defeated by the English. King Edward came. That's the one in the Braveheart. It's depicted as Robert the Bruce. It's supposed to be supporting him with heavy cavalry, but the English have bought him off, and his father has convinced him not to back Wallace, so they lose here. But then, after Wallace is killed, about a decade later, Robert the Bruce defeats the English at Edinburgh, and it that led to the treaty, that led to the independent Scotland for a while. A couple hundred years. But it's kind of interesting. It's
Wallace is dead already, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This one, last one. So 1, 2, 3. It's like every time the English are invading, they're going to come through this valley. So you're going to fight them. So the Scottish are going to come down the hills to engage the battle. But you need a flat area for English cavalry, so it's kind of, why would the Scottish accommodate that?
Having a name like John Graham in a place like Falkirk is a little bit special. Sir John Graham was a great hero and patriot, the constant companion and bosom friend of the brave Sir William Wallace, Governor of Scotland, who with him shared the glory of all of the illustrious victories that were then obtained by the Scots over the common enemies of their country. They are both particularly mentioned at the engagement of Black Ironside, the burning of the Barns of Ayr, the taking of the Castle of Crawford, the defeat of the English at Lanark, the Battle of Biggar, and he is agreed upon by the Scottish historians to have been the bravest and best of all Scotchmen next to Sir William Wallace. He at last lost his life fighting gallantly in defense of the liberties of his country at the fatal Battle of Falkirk in the year 1298. He was afterwards interred at Trinity Church in Falkirk, where you can visit his tomb. As we left Falkirk and headed north towards the Cairngorms and Pitlochry, we noticed the landscape really changing. There seemed to be many fewer trees and the mountains were much more barren. We'll talk more about that as we head towards northern Scotland because that really is a phenomenon that we hadn't expected and it became so starkly real to us. The reasons might surprise you, so stay and watch for that as we head to the northernmost parts of this wild and rugged country. Thanks so much for being here. Watch for our next video in Pitlochry. I think we have said watch our next video in Pitlochry like 3 times and we never get to Pitlochry, but we're really going to get to Pitlochry.